Good evening. Well to the latest edition of Last Bell Boxing. Sunday night special tonight. A couple of nights of boxing. Fair to say, it's quite a bit to be going through. So joined tonight by regulars. Ander, how you going, Ander?
Good evening, mate.
And well, you're a regular now, Sean. So Sean, how you doing?
Yeah, fine. Thanks yourself.
Sam, thank you. So there's only one place to start into really. So Andy's going to take us through the boxer card that happened last night. So Andy, over to you.
Do you know what, mate? I'm not going to take you through the box card because the box card was absolutely ridiculous. There's only one thing worth talking about, and that's, in my opinion, the darkest day in British boxing history. I'm still quite angry about it, if I'm honest. I've been angry about it all day, and I wasn't involved. I can't imagine what Jack Catterall must be thinking right now, and his team.
Sean, I think we've lost Andy, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to take over the opening gambit then? So obviously we're talking about Taylor Catterall, and I agree, Andy. It was an absolute disgrace. But give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely shocking. I mean, how they can give Taylor that out of all, I don't know how they got to that decision, but yeah, for me, I think I scored it 117, 109 to Catterall. I think at best I gave Taylor 2 rounds, which I think is quite lenient to him, but I don't know how you saw it, mate.
Well, I was actually in a bar, so you get a slight, no commentary or anything like that, but I was actually able to sit down and actually watch it. I thought it was scandalous, absolutely scandalous. And then I watched it again this morning with commentary to see if it would change my mind, but it didn't. If there isn't an inquiry into that fight from the British Boxing Board of Control, we're in a bad place. Because, I've seen everyone's, not one person in that stadium had it for Taylor. Not one person. So, some of them scorecards, Sean, come on. What fight are they watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. I mean, it doesn't do boxing any regards whatsoever. I mean, you have to feel for Catterall, but also you have to see, I mean, they was watching the same fight as us at the end of the day. So it's interesting to see why they gave Taylor the win, because he didn't really push the fight at all, really. Even I think it was round 10, Ben Davison said that you need the knockout to win, but at the end of the day, he was just almost cruising, and it's just sickening, really.
Ben Davison knew he got away with one, didn't he?
Yeah. Did you see his reaction at the end?
Well, the body language of both fighters told you everything, Sean, didn't it?
Yeah. And, I suppose Taylor will sort of hide behind the weight issue, but really, I mean, how he's acted after the fight, saying that he won most of the rounds, whatever, that don't sit right with me either. I mean, surely he knows deep down that he lost that fight, really.
And he should be a little bit more humble, shouldn't he? I mean, dismissing the rematch straight away like he did. He was obviously dead at the weight, wasn't he? And just couldn't do what he needed to do. But I feel for Catterall. Can you imagine, Sean? You should be holding all the marbles and you've got none.
Yeah, I mean, I saw before as well that he was considering maybe going back to his day job in the winter because of the money he lost. I mean, I suspect he would be a multi-millionaire if he won the fight, and it's just sickening for him.
I mean, some people are saying it's because Catterall didn't put his foot down during the championship rounds, but I thought he obviously boxed. He was in control, wasn't he?
I mean, I think on my card I gave Taylor round 2 and 9, and that was about it because Catterall was outboxing him. He basically outfought him the whole fight, really. So I can't see how at a push Taylor can get more than 3 rounds, in my opinion.
No. So we'll just bring Matt in. Evening, Matt. How you going?
Good evening. Good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, we're just covering the Catterall versus Taylor fight. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything that's any different to anything that anybody who has watched the fight, apart from 3 judges and Dan Raphael, think. To be perfectly honest with you, because you just absolutely there is no words, is there? Really, it wasn't like it was a nip and tuck, and there's people who see it one way or the other.
No.
It wasn't like it was. It's just awful.
Yeah.
And the only thing that just before I joined, I just sort of heard you talking about saying, Catterall should be waking up with all the marbles and everything. I think I messaged you or messaged the Twitter page last night and just sort of said, like, there's absolutely that opportunity last night has now gone for him in terms of he gets nothing now. It's all very well if somebody said you can have a rematch. Right, well, you can have a rematch, but it gives the fighter a chance to adjust. That doesn't right the wrong of last night. Taylor goes up and vacates. Oh, well, you can have a mandatory shot or you can be #1 challenger for all the belts or whatever it is. Well, that doesn't help him because he's only going to be able to fight for one of the belts. The governing bodies don't allow or rarely allow people to fight for more than, and then he's then got to fight 3 or 4 other fighters to become undisputed. He should be, he should be waking up today as the man. He was. I didn't realise before last night that he was no longer with Frank Warren. I mean, people are going to be knocking on his door this morning anyway. But if you imagine he's waking up as a free agent, as undisputed lightweight champion, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, what a dark day for the British Boxing Board of Control. We used to pride ourselves, didn't we, in the UK and Ireland, that you come in, if you're an away fighter, you come and get a fair shake.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
No, go on.
The only positive, I say positive, the only thing I hope that comes out of this is that the noise and everybody's disgust at the result is so loud that it pushes through some sort of reform, resolution, that, the fight's not going to get, British Boxing Board of Control or whoever, the governing bodies, they're not going to make it a no contest. They're not going to do any of the stuff that I saw people suggest online last night. But what there should be is there has to be accountability from the judges now. There has to be.
Well, it needs reform, don't it? I'm sure you'll agree, Sean and Matt. It needs reform. It can't be this old boys club that it is at the minute, let's be honest, where they've got no accountability. Last night, someone should have come out from that board of control last night and at least try and justify how they came to that conclusion. I'm not sure they can, but there should be some accountability. It was an absolute disgrace. And it turns you off from the sport that we all love, and they're killing it.
Yeah.
They're killing it. Welcome back, Ander. Nice you to make an appearance.
As well.
Say again.
Right in the middle of my rant.
Well, you want to try paying your bills now and again, but anyway, pick up where you left off.
I don't know, mate. I was just saying how I think it's the darkest day in British boxing history one time. I'm staggered. I'm still staggered. I still don't understand how it can happen, because it wasn't as though it was close. It wasn't as though Catterall had won the fight by maybe 2 rounds, and it's possible that a couple of the rounds were close and they could have scored it another way.
Yeah, I mean, even Ander, Jonas versus Harper, we didn't like the decision. And it stank, but you put up with it, didn't you? But this one was absolutely
because the Jonas Harper fight was maybe a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you guys. I don't know if you've already said it, because obviously I've just been off the screen. I scored it 116, 109. I don't know how you lads had it. I made it 9 rounds. I made it 9 rounds to 3.
Yeah, I'm about there.
I don't think Josh Taylor landed a single deadly shot in the first 6 rounds. Jack Catterall's defense was way too good. Josh Taylor didn't know how to deal with it. Every time Josh Taylor tried to attack, Catterall came back with much better, much cleaner shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And carried on in the second half of the fight. I'm just staggered. I mean, everyone at ringside were disgusted. The pundits were disgusted, and then people started changing the tune a little bit as it was going, as the conversation was going on. They were still saying Catterall had won, but they were saying, "Oh, maybe it was a little bit closer than that, and maybe this round, and maybe that round." Bullshit.
I'll tell you what was refreshing though. Ben Shalom.
Yeah, it was
How
very good.
refreshing was that? You know, to hear him say, "I'm embarrassed to be promoting this show with them results."
Yeah.
I mean,
Very refreshing.
I don't want to put the cat amongst the pigeons here. Has Jack Taylor got a legal case here?
Well,
Because this is going to cost him millions. He's never now going to get another shot at Undisputed because Taylor's already said he's moving up.
yeah.
I know I don't want to knock Josh Taylor because he's been a brilliant champion and he's deserved all the plaudits that he's had. And I'm a massive fan of Josh Taylor. And it's very difficult when you've been in a war like that. It's very difficult when you've got a mic pushed in front of your face to say anything other than you've won the fight, isn't it? You've got to back yourself. But then in the cold light today, you get a little bit of time. You then go into that press conference, and him and Ben Davis are saying the same thing. We won the fight. We won the fight clearly. I mean,
His body language, Andy. His body language at that final bell.
he didn't win the fight, mate. He knows
everything you need to know.
He knows deep down he didn't win the fight. Ben Davison knows deep down he didn't win the fight. I mean, Ben Davison, at the end of the 11th round, Ben Davison said in the corner, you need a knockout to win.
So in the sidebar, it says, all avenues being looked at by Jack and his team, and they have spoken about that. So I'm assuming that's a legal option.
Good. So they should as well. I hope they take the British Boxing Board of control for everything they've got. Because that's the only thing that's going to make them learn, mate. Because this is going to... You know, if nothing's done about this, these 3 judges will carry on refereeing and they'll carry on judging with no comeback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the judge that scored Taylor winning by 3 rounds, what was he looking at?
No.
I mean, any of them, to be honest with you, they were all shocking scores. Foster only gave it
113, 112, was it?
by 2 points. The other one was a draw, was it? Or was it? I can't remember. Anyway,
Do you know what really pisses me off? And I shouldn't swear really, but how has Robert Smith got the audacity not to even come out and put a statement out today? I feel like he's taking the boxing fans for mugs.
it's not right. No, he's not taking the boxing fans for mugs. He's taking the boxing world for mugs. He's taking the boxers for mugs. He should have come out and said something. He should have come out and said, looking into it, or we're sitting down with the judges and we're gonna watch the video. We're gonna watch the fight back, and we're gonna watch how they scored it, and we're gonna see whether they still agree with it in the cold light of day.
Yeah, I mean, Mark made a good comment in the sidebar. It will also stop decent fighters coming to this country to fight in the future.
Absolutely agree.
We're turning into a Germany, aren't we? Do you remember when some decision with Felix Sturm in Germany and things like that? You know. Well,
yeah, but and you've also got the Paul Smith Jr. fight when he should have been crowned world champion and was never crowned world champion. It's Germany, it's Russia, and we've spent all these years slagging them off, saying now it's all corrupt. Well, what does that make us then? What does that make the British Boxing Board of Control and the judging?
And to be fair, even the Scottish fans have admitted that he lost, haven't they? You know, because the Scottish fans are true boxing fans. That's why. You know, I've not seen one yet say that Taylor won.
It wasn't close, mate. It wasn't close.
You could tell last night as well, because from about round 3, it went not silent in that arena, but it was quiet. They knew. It was not going their man's way.
You know what sometimes can possibly happen is if there's a close fight, I think judges can be swayed by the crowd. I think judges can be swayed. You know when you see, don't you, especially in large venues, you get massive roars from the crowd when a fighter's threw a punch and it doesn't land, but they think it's landed because they're watching it from 6 miles away, and fighters are about 2 inches tall. So I think judges can sometimes get swayed. Well, I just sway a 9-3 in my opinion, a 9-3 victory. I just sway that the opposite way.
No, I mean, no, it was a great atmosphere, but what was the attendance? 9,000 something? It's not exactly 70,000 like a Canelo fight, is it?
No.
So it's heartbreaking, isn't it, for Jack Catterall? Absolute heartbreaking.
Jamie Moore come out. I've seen he had that really emotional interview at the side of the ring, and I think, to be quite honest with you, he handled himself really, really well, considering. Because I don't know why I held my tongue the way he did. He's come out and done a couple of other interviews since backstage, and he said, "Look, you know," he says, "I've told Jack that it don't matter what the judges say. Everybody in the world knows he won the fight." He says, "But the only problem is he doesn't have the belts to prove it, and he's not going to get the paydays to prove it." So how do you tell someone that's heartbroken that you're proud of them and that they've done the best they can?
Yeah.
Jimbo
in the side says, "I feel vindicated. Jack put on a show and beat the brakes off Taylor. The young man was robbed of his legacy. Jack should be the undisputed champion and a top 10 pound for pound boxer, but instead he has nothing."
It's right as well. I mean, he should be getting, you know, anywhere between $1 million and $2 million for his next fight as undisputed champion. He's now probably going to get more like 100, 200, 300 grand if he's lucky. And that'll only come if he's fighting for one of the world titles, because Taylor will move up and they'll get split. If Taylor's any sort of a man,
jumping again.
This is harsh for me to say. If Taylor's any sort of a man, he needs to turn around and say, "Okay, I know I'm struggling at the weight, but let's have a quick turn around. Let me mend, and then we'll have a rematch straight away, because everyone's crying out for it." But that won't happen.
Or the British Boxing Board of Control should overturn it.
But would they be able to, though?
I'm not sure the legal position, to be honest.
They won't be able to. I mean, the only thing they can do is something about the judges, because they're all their judges. All 3 judges and the referee, by the way, he was shocking. All 3 judges were from the British Boxing Board of Control.
I disagree slightly about the referee, and the only reason I say that is because the points deductions were what made it. The point deduction for Taylor was, I don't understand what that was for. That felt like he was just trying to even things up, because he sort of thought to himself, "I maybe need to do something here." I don't know. What I will say is that fight wasn't an easy fight to referee, because the styles, when there was a bit of distance, there was good action. When it got close, they kept tangling in the same way, and I felt he did enough to try and keep it, to try and make sure there was action, that they weren't holding and everything like that. He did warn Catterall on about 4 or 5 occasions before he took the point in the end. I thought it was harsh, but I think after he'd given so many warnings, he probably didn't feel like he had that much more place to go with it. But the point I've got more of an issue with the point he took off of Taylor, because it just seemed a bit petty, and I don't know, maybe he felt like he needed to even things up a little bit.
I didn't see what that was for, because it was right at the end of the round. Did Taylor Taylor say something, or did he land a shot after the bell or something?
Well, the bell went, and then the way it looked, watching it on telly, the way it looked is like Taylor just sort of like gave him a dig in the chest, but it was more like a well done, respect, or something like that. And then from nowhere, Marcus McDonald's just pulled him up, and Marcus McDonald maybe thought he'd punched after the bell, because Catterall did react to it, you know, but it was handbags. It was nothing. It wasn't worth a point. But
to be honest with you, in my opinion, that makes absolutely no difference to the scorecard.
No,
I mean, those 2 rounds where the point was taken off Catterall and the point was taken off Taylor. I had Taylor winning the round when it was taken off Catterall, which made it a 10-8. And I had Catterall winning the round when it was taken off Taylor, which made it a 10-8. So it evened them out.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got 10-8 when Catterall put Taylor down. So
just jumping in the sidebar again, and he says, we all know Taylor doesn't want the rematch, as it would be the same result again. He got schooled and Jack has a lot more skill to show. Jack says the point was deducted for his shot after the bell. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few days, because obviously there's quite a lot of noise around it.
Well, I've since seen a video with Ben Davison, and he's tried to clarify his comment in between the 12th round. He reckons that he turned around and said he admitted he said you need a knockout, but he reckons he was saying it to try and G his man up. What a load of shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've spent I don't know how many times on this show backing up Ben Davison, saying I think he's a great coach and a great tactician. He's doing wonders for boxing. He's done great stuff for Lee Wood. But I'm sorry, I can't defend it. He'd be the first person jumping up if it wasn't his fighter and he was just a pundit. He'd be the first person jumping up and down at another coach. If another coach was coming out with what he's saying now after that fight, knowing his fighter's lost, he'd be the first person jumping up and down and calling out that coach. But he's doing exactly the same thing.
I mean, that Ian John Lewis's scorecard, he's renowned for doing them sort of cards, isn't it? Yet he's allowed again to go on and on and on.
I've seen a scorecard. It looks like it's the actual scorecards, but you never know, do you? It was posted on Twitter. He gave Josh Taylor 3 of the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
What the fuck was he watching?
Yeah.
The amount of swearing I'm doing on this show, this is probably going to get kicked off of YouTube, but I don't care.
Yeah, he wanted to calm himself down. He's too old to get excited. So in the sidebar, and he said it 3 times, boys. We need a stoppage for his exact words 3 times. That was Ben Davison. Yeah,
and now he's coming out and saying he was only saying that to G his man up to get, because he thought the fight was close. He thought the fight was close, and he needed his man to win the last round. Fuck me, really.
I mean, I only give Taylor round 2 and round 10 for the whole fight.
Yeah, I mean, I may be being generous giving him 3 rounds. I'm a little bit lost for words. I'm staggered with the whole situation. I'm staggered that it's happened in a British boxing ring to that extent. We've seen some dodgy scorecards, haven't we?
Yeah, but that
it seems to be. It's in the more recent years. This never used to happen in British rings. Back in the day, all the scorecards were fairly good, but in recent years, it seems to be happening a lot, and no one's held responsible. No one's held responsible. I mean, I don't know who it was. It might have been Tony Bellew today, but someone said, "Why don't you make judges wear ear defenders, sign cancelling ear defenders, so they can't hear what's going on in the arena?"
Matt Macklin said that.
You know,
it's what they're watching, not what they're hearing.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying, is, and we've said it ourselves, they do get swayed.
Well, then they shouldn't be judging, should they?
No,
'Cause that's a load of bollocks.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you, but they do get swayed.
How far do the commentators sit from the TV commentary? Because I know it was Joe Gallagher, wasn't it, that made an issue of it around the fight camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that may be
because there was no crowd at all? The judges could hear what was said in commentary because there was no crowd, there was no noise. I mean, the ringside, aren't they, virtually on one side of the ring for most of these big events?
The thing is, if any one of those judges was listening to commentary last night, you would think it would obviously have swayed it to Catterall's way.
Yeah, I'm a believer. I'm a believer that ex-boxers should be judges because a lot of these judges have never even been in a ring. So why wouldn't you just have some ex-boxers who actually know the game inside out?
They're also
read a book.
They're also very settled and very comfortable in the jobs because nothing's ever done and no pressure's ever put on them.
Like I said, it's an old boys club, isn't it? Don't matter if you fuck up because no bother.
They'll cover you as long as the A-star, as they call them, A-star referees and judges. As long as they're in that little band of brothers, it's like the Masons, isn't it? Little weird handshake under the table. As long as they're in that little club, it seems they can get away with what they want and nothing gets done about it.
I don't know how feasible it is, where they would get the money from, but it certainly does need something for referees, judges to be, I don't know what the term is, professionalised, because all them judges and referees, they've got jobs Monday to Friday. You look at most elite sport, and you're talking about full-time paid professionals that receive training, that receive feedback, that are critiquing, that are not necessarily marking their own homework, essentially. It would be a start to have Victor Locker.
I mean, Matt, what I would say is in today's era, when you've got boxes on most weeks and the old summer where they call it boxing season, doesn't there? That's almost gone now. Don't tell me there's not enough money floating around in that British Boxing Board of Control to have full-time referees with the sanction fees that are coming in.
Yeah. And do you actually have a look at? So Victor Lochran is an excellent referee. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But do we actually look at having specialist? Do you look at having specialist referees and specialist judges? Do you know what I mean? Like this, to my point earlier, there's enough noise around this, and there's enough of an outcry. There's got to be something good come from this. Like I said, I don't know how you would fund that, but there's the elite sport has elite officials.
Well, there's enough money in these mega fights. There's enough money in these massive cards and DAZN and Boxer and BT. There's enough money floating about to pay for professionals.
Yeah.
It needs a review. It needs a full review, and it needs to be open and transparent, including boxing fans, so we can read through it. Because without boxing fans, there is no sport. So the British Boxing Board of Control should launch a review and get them judges in and get the ref in and have a full debrief of how they come to them results. Full stop.
Yeah.
Mark Brody's put, yes, Matt, that's the way to go. He's completely agreeing with you, Matt, and I can't see any other way. There's enough money about in there. There's enough money floating about. Even if each, I mean, the amount of money that's going into the governing bodies through fight purses.
Yeah.
It staggers me that boxing's not just a sport nowadays. Boxing's a business. The amount of money that's being made by the top end fights, it's staggering. The amount of money that's in boxing at the minute. For us to be even having this conversation in 2022 is just ridiculous. Because what it does two things. It stops the best names in world boxing coming to the UK. They're not going to come over here and risk their titles on the chance that they're going to get a scorecard like that. Because what else did Catterall have to do? Other than pin Taylor to the floor, what else did he have to do? He boxed his head off for 12 rounds. What else has he got to do?
And another reason why it's really hurtful, that result, or whatever you want to call it, last night, is because a lot of casuals will be watching because it's on Sky Sports. So in terms of growth of the sport, that was really damaging last night. It wasn't DAZN where you've got to go and get an app and, you've got to be really interested. A lot of people have stayed after the football and watched that fight who maybe not normally watch boxing.
And how many amateur boxers that are currently in the GB setup or the Irish setup, how many of them boxers are going to start thinking to themselves, I might not bother turning pro? Because why fight like Jack Catterall's done for 15 years to get himself into a position of fighting to be undisputed champion? It's like winning the lottery, isn't it? You win this fight against Josh Taylor and you've won the lottery because you're made for life. You only need to fight 2 or 3 times and you're going to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
How many amateurs are going to turn around and think to themselves, nah, I don't think I'll bother. I think I'll just stay in the amateur game.
Especially with the money that's in the amateur game at the minute. In no way is it comparable to the top end of pro boxing, but they can earn a good living off that elite GB squad.
You know the funding that's there, they certainly can. Yeah, you're right. And that's why a lot of them hang around as long as they do. For 2 and 3 Olympics. I just don't know how many of them are gonna think it's worth the while.
I think I'm going to open up a petition on the gov.uk website to start a review. If you get 500,000 signatures, I think it is. You have to debate it in Parliament. I'll be surprised if there's not one up there already, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if they're in.
To your point, Carl, like, how do you explain that to casual boxing fans last night? I saw a tweet from Chris Lloyd from DAZN, who just sort of said, do you remember when Man U beat Arsenal 8-2 a few years ago? And he said, you watch that only to be told that actually Arsenal got the win. Do you know what I mean?
Matt, I was in a bar in Nottingham enjoying the fight. Obviously Mrs. were there, so the Mrs. watched the fight with me. She wasn't particularly happy about doing so, but she did. Even she knew, and she doesn't really watch boxing. Even she knew that Catterall won. Even she was staggered when Taylor got his arm lifted. So that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
And the worst thing is, on the back of that, is that every casual boxing fan, but every sports fan, anybody who's watched that last night, who doesn't have necessarily the love for boxing as deep as we do.
Yeah.
But the first thing they say when they see that, corrupt. And that, as a boxing fan, as long as we've watched the sport, that really fucking hurts.
Yeah.
That really hurts.
The problem is, Matt, it's hard to argue against it. If someone says to you, well, that's just corrupt. And you go, well, no, it's not. And they'll go, well, why isn't it? I haven't got an answer for that. I haven't got an answer for why it's not.
No.
So a couple of comments on the side. Mark says, Catterall's local MP is the Speaker of the House of Commons. He's raising it tomorrow. That's great to hear. And Innie says, honestly, it is such a hard business. I was selling tickets to earn a living. I was getting a tenner a ticket, and the face value was 35 quid. And £5 for 25 quid tickets. That is a tough gig. And that's where Jack Catterall's come from, that sort of level, worked his arse off up the levels to get a result like that.
Yeah.
So Andy, do you want to take us on to the? We're not going to get no. We're just going to get even more pissed off. So shall we go on to the fight card tonight, Andy? Before I get my MP's local phone number and give it a ring.
Yeah, ring them live now on screen.
Can you imagine?
Let's move on. We're not going to get. We're just going to go around in circles, aren't we? All right. So obviously we've had this DAZN card tonight. Lawrence Okolie defending his WBA cruiserweight title. So let's just go through the card from when it went live. First fight on the card, and it's nice to see that Campbell Atten was lower down the bill. It took a lot of pressure off of him, I think. I actually thought that this was going to be a tricky fight for Campbell because Joe Ducker's no pushover. I thought Campbell boxed really well. He was very tidy. He was very careful, very patient. You know, there was no diving in like there has been in previous fights and getting caught. I thought he looks as though he's grown up over the space of 6 months, is it, since he last fought, whatever. Since the fight that he lost, that everyone knew he lost. But we again given the result.
Another great judging decision. Allegedly.
Did you two see this?
No, I'll see we just celebrating the League Cup final, so no.
Couldn't care less about the League Cup final, mate. This is
you won't do because you support a Mickey Mouse team. So moving on to the next one.
Yeah, moving on because this is a boxing show.
Sean, I'm telling you why I didn't watch it. Too busy watching my team the silverware. Been a while, lads, hasn't it? Been a while. Anyway, moving on.
Blah. Sean, did you see this fight?
Yeah, I did. I thought he looked very impressive. I mean, given where he was this time last year, people were sort of saying, why is he getting these opportunities? And then having seen his last fight in Spain and his fight tonight, I feel that he's slowly coming on, almost like Conor Benn in a way, where it's a slow burner with him. But
don't tell me you get 20-odd fights to jump in with a live opponent. Jesus.
He probably needs that.
Wind your neck and let the lads talk.
Yeah, sorry, lads. Go on, Sean.
Yeah, I think, maybe he'll be at the sort of edge of a British title by the end of the year. I think he's come on leaps and bounds compared to where he was. And I think, Matthew Hatton's done a good job with him, really. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it was obvious that he was his shot selection was better tonight. He looked a lot more relaxed. The only thing I'll add that I thought tonight is, without being disrespectful to him, he actually looked like he's starting to show a bit of man strength. Like he's actually just filling out a little bit. I agree with what you said before. Like I thought it was going to be a little bit tricky. Somebody who's been around a bit, and and he seemed to sort of he banged him around the ring really. By the end of it. So yeah, I actually just thought he looked like he'd filled out a little bit as well. Like he's growing into. Yeah, he's growing into it.
But if he's got any aspirations going up through the level, he's got to be doing that to people like Ducker Hunter.
He has, but he had what 30 amateur fights or whatever it was.
Nothing.
He's got to learn on the pro. He's got to learn amateur tricks on the pro job, and that's not going to be easy. And if it takes him, I think it's optimistic to say he's looking at a British title shot by the end of the year. But I would not be fussed to see him 12 or 15 fights down before he's looking at a British title shot. In this day and age, that's too long for some people. But he's not got the experience that a lot of others coming through have.
Completely agree with you, Matt. And it's not only that; it's the pressure he's got on his shoulders of his name as well.
Massive.
It's not like any other fighter that's 4-0 that can be getting in the ring and the commentators and the public will all go, oh yeah, well he's bound to make them mistakes because he's only 4-0. Oh, and he's only had a few amateur fights, so 10 or 15 fights, and he might have learned a few things. He's not getting that, is he? He's not allowed that, and neither's Conor Benn. He's getting, from the likes of Carl, he's getting abuse because he's had 20.
I think abuse is a strong word, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is, because
it's called having an opinion.
Anyway, but it's the same thing, isn't it? You know, Conor Benn had to learn, and he nearly come unstuck early on, if you remember, against that Cedric Pinu, was it?
Oh, the Frenchman, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember him.
You know, a lot of people thought he lost that fight, and he probably did.
Speaking of dodgy decisions, yeah.
Yeah, another dodgy decision, but he learned a lot from it, and he went away. COVID helped him a lot, didn't it? Because it meant he didn't have to fight. He was out of the limelight, and he could concentrate on his boxing skills, learning a few things. Probably did loads of sparring behind closed doors and all that. So Campbell Hatton is in the same boat. I completely agree with you, Matt. Cole's just impatient.
No, it's all about not giving them gimme fights.
That's
what it is.
Cole.
Not giving them gimme fights. I agree with learning fights, but not gimme fights. So that's nice.
Yeah,
that's the same thing as this stage for him. Ducker's not a gimme fight, by the way.
Well, his record's not particularly great, though, is it?
It's not. But he's won 9 fights. He's out of the what's he had? 21 fights, maybe. 20 fights, something like that. He fights a lot on the small hall circuit, so he's a very tough character.
The challenge that Campbell Hatton and Conor Benn's got is the British boxing public. You might have your rose tinted glasses on and give him 40 fights before he even jumps in with anyone who's live. But the majority of boxing fans want to see him in there with a live opponent, especially Conor Benn. Don't walk around saying, I want to tear up, and then jump in with someone who's bang average. I think the British boxing fans now are in a place where they really want to see Conor Benn jump in with someone of note.
I think you're blaming the wrong person for that. He's being protected by his team and by his promoter. If you was to ask Conor Benn who he wants to fight, he'll fight anybody. He'd fight a world champion tomorrow on the street because that's what he's built like. He's built like his old man. His old man would have done the same thing. It doesn't mean he's going to win them fights, and it's not the brightest thing to be putting him in them fights, is it?
I just think they'll end up getting bored of him because we can't keep watching him fight this level of opponent.
You're not going to get bored of him. Well, I'm not anyway, because
eventually we need to find out what he's got.
I'm not going to get bored of him because you always know there's a chance that he's going to get knocked out because of the style he's got. He's got a very exciting style, and for me, that's great for boxing.
I'll be honest. I hope he is as good as you think he is because we ain't got many more coming through. So he needs to be a bit of a flag bearer for British boxing, if I'm honest. But my concerns are that he's just not going to be as good as his dad.
Well, maybe not. We'll see, won't we? We'll see.
Well, we will, yeah. If he ever jumps in with anyone live,
that'll happen. But you got to give him the time to do that. Anyway, moving on. Fabio Wardley, another one of Cole's favourite fighters.
Oh my days! Sunday night, I've got work tomorrow. You're getting me so excited. It's untrue.
So Fabio Wardley went in against Daniel Moss. Daniel Moss before this fight was 29-1. Obviously, Fabio Wardley was 12-0. Go on then, Cole. I know that you didn't see this, but let's have your opinion on what you think of Fabio Wardley anyway.
So I know Fabio Wardley's he's come from white collars, so fair enough. He's working his way up through the levels. But I'll be honest with you, he's just not the most likeable of fellas, is it? Some of his comments that he makes, it's just in bad taste to me. I think he gets beat by. Well, I was going to say the likes of Babbage, but I mean that's a toss of a coin. But the White Rhino would beat him. He won't. I don't even think he wins a British heavyweight title. I don't know what you do with him.
They're on about lining him up to face Gorman next.
Gorman beats him. A motivated Gorman beats him.
Yeah.
So this one was another one of those, Carl, where he looked dreadful for the first round. It looked like he was half asleep.
Oh, I feel like I missed that now.
He got slapped about in the corner by his cornerman, told to wake up, and then he came out and knocked the guy out in the next round.
Yeah, I mean, There's enough heavyweights floating around, isn't there, who can give him a test if they really want to throw him in with a test.
Matt, what do you think of Fabio Wardley?
No more than what you said there, Andy, to be fair. I mean, he literally, I thought it was awful to watch the first round because he literally just did not look at all interested. And then you heard him giving a bit of a bollocking. And then just from all of a sudden, the second he landed like that over the right hand round the corner, it was just sort of like, mate, he just did not want to know.
No, he didn't.
I agree. I think that I'd like to see the fight with Gorman. I don't think Gorman is a bad boxer. It's just a case of if he's trained, if he's he's not recovered from that defeat to Dubois for me. He's just not. I think it's a logical next step for Wardley.
Or Dave Allen, if he's motivated. He comes to fight, doesn't he, Dave Allen, if the money's right.
I don't know where they got that Daniel March from. To me, it looked like they picked him out of a forest in Alaska, just been chopping trees down the day before, I reckon.
Well, it's all right, because he must have 30 fights to jump in with a live opponent, and he's coming from white collar. You're giving Conor Ben 20 odd, so he must have 40 odd.
Sean, what's your opinion on Wardley?
Yeah, he's a bit strange, really. I mean, I don't see why Matchroom are sort of building him up as the next big thing when they've got the likes of Hrgovic coming through underneath Joshua. I just don't see the point in wasting their time, really. I think it's sort of Dylan White infused, isn't it? Why they're working with him. But yeah, I don't see the point, really.
Yeah, Sean, they do have these vanity projects, though, Matchroom, don't they? I'm thinking about Eggington and people like that, who they seem to put a ridiculous amount of effort behind them to build a profile when it's clear that they're not really going to go to world level.
It is the Dillian White effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swiftly moving on.
Yeah.
To yet another fighter that Cole really likes. This is going well tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anthony Fowler against Lukas Macic, is it? Is that that's Macic? Do you know what, lads? I really don't know what to think of Fowler. So he stepped up twice. He got beat by Scott Fitzgerald. He then stepped up again, got beat by Liam Smith. And he's moved up to middleweight, and his hands are slow, his feet are slow. If the guy had any sort of power, he would have knocked him out because he was landing that overhand right every day of the week, every time he threw the shot. In my opinion, he doesn't go any further than European if he's very, very lucky at middleweight.
Tough division, middleweight.
I just don't see it. He looked like he was after 3 rounds. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I think he had it. That fella obviously has not been stopped before, as I understand, and I think after about 3 or 4 rounds, Fowler had him in reverse gear. I think I agree with what you're saying. I don't think I like Anthony Fowler. I think he talks well. He's a likable bloke, but as a fighter, he lives the life as a fighter. There's plenty of fighters who could learn a lot from him in attitude. He was asked for a bit of advice for Gamal Yafai, and he just sort of says, make the championship weight every fight, get used to doing that sort of thing. But as a fighter, I had high hopes for him, but chin up. He's quite upright. The McGuigan style is probably not working so much for him, where he's got him, wider stance, etc., etc. I hate to say it.
Did it look like he had much pop at that weight, Matt? In his punch? Did it look like he carried his power well? Did he have enough power at middleweight?
On tonight's evidence, possibly not. But like I said, but he had enough that this guy had not been stopped tonight. He had the guy on the bike for
You went Went into
7 rounds.
survival mode, did I?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but if you're good enough, you've got to be taking these guys out.
Yeah.
For me, Matt, there's not enough variation in what Fowler does.
No.
The same combinations every time, and you get away with that when you're fighting British level at best. But as soon as you start coming up against people that have got a decent ring IQ, after a couple of rounds, they're going to figure that out, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
McGuigan was saying stuff in the corner to him, and he just wasn't doing it when he went out.
Yeah.
Sean, what's your feelings on Fowler? Yeah, I mean, I don't rate him at all. Do you guys remember Tom Stalker that was similar?
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds you of that, really, sort of the Olympic flag bearer, if you like. But for me, I don't think he'll achieve much. I mean, every time he stepped up, he's lost. I can't see him do anything at middleweight. I think maybe he'll be best suited to sort of training fighters rather than being a fighter himself, really, given the knowledge he has.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Right, moving on. European featherweight title. Karim Guafi versus Jordan Gill. Honestly, I've only had one drink. Versus Jordan Gill. I was expecting a career best performance from Jordan Gill here. I've got to admit, I'll have to hold my hands up and go with what you guys say on this, because I had to pop out. I only saw the first 3 rounds, and then I saw the knockout at the end. All I would say is that Jordan Gill didn't look very good. I don't know what happened in the rest of the fight.
Well, I don't think you would if you get DDT'd in the ring.
That's how it happened.
It was outrageous.
Naughty that was.
And I don't know if you've seen his eyes afterwards, but the lights were on, but nobody was home after that.
Yeah. I mean, he got that. I saw the replay. He got the knockout, and then he could barely stand up. I don't know if you saw him in the background.
Yeah,
falling all over the place.
It was some punch though, and to be fair, Dave Caldwell was bang on with his advice. Absolute bang on. Your legs are gone. Just get into the corner. He was slipping and sliding and making the guy miss and picking him off for a couple of rounds just while his legs come back. But his legs never came back. But the punch that finished it was a great shot. Absolute great shot.
Well,
you could argue it is a career best performance because, he was out on his feet almost and took the guy out. So
yeah, he landed the punch. What was it, a round or 2 rounds previous, didn't he? When he was in the corner,
yeah,
and Matey felt it and he backed off.
Yeah.
And then he lured him into the same trap. I think it was. Did they say it was a perforated eardrum?
Yeah,
problem with his balance.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it was like Bambi on ice, wasn't it, in the ring at the end?
Yeah.
So to land that shot with a perforated eardrum was even more impressive because his balance would have been all over the place. So Go on, Matt.
Sorry, Carl. Sorry, mate. Every fighter who goes on to win a world title, unless they are like mega shit hot, has to come through those types of like gut checks, didn't they? And he didn't have it all his own way tonight. That geezer was busy, and he was well schooled, and he would find out a lot of, a lot of fights can come a cropper at that, and that's why European titles should be worth a lot more than what they are, if you know what I mean, in terms of development. And he's come through that tonight, and you can't knock him for that. And for somebody who's only got 23 wins and 6 knockouts now or something, maybe it says something, because he's a very active boxer in terms of his style in the ring, movement. I love watching him box.
Yeah.
But actually, maybe there's something there for him if you say, right, sit down a little bit and you can do more of this.
Yeah.
Do you think he's got anything above that level?
Yeah, I do. I think he can kick on.
Sean?
I was impressed. What do you mean, Sean?
Yeah, I think he does personally, but I think, the kind of staying styles makes fights is difficult for him, really, because he isn't particularly a big puncher. But we saw tonight he has when he turns it on. I think maybe he needs another 2 or 3 fights to this level before we can really tell how far he can get to. Really,
Yeah.
The fact that if he had a perforated eardrum, the fact that he was able to survive for those last 2 rounds the way he did, and be able to land that shot and not get hit very much while he was in that corner, that's testament to his coach. And
Caldwell was absolutely spot on. I know I go in on Caldwell. I go in on them all, to be honest with you, when they deserve it. But Caldwell was absolutely bang on the money tonight. You know, he kept looking. People on commentary calling for it to be stopped, if you remember, lads. You know, but he still had enough about him. He was slipping and sliding. The guy was missing a lot, to be honest. And he was still hitting the odd pot shot, but great art, you know. He's got a size of balls on him. He has that Gil, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he does get hit a lot. You know, that's one thing that might need. But you know, honestly, the DDT did it. He landed flush on his head.
That looked deliberate as well.
Firstly, DDT.
So where you grab the arm under and you fall back and they land on their head. So if you're not a WWE fan, get on YouTube and have a look.
I think I'll pass on that one. Cheers, mate.
I've seen you in your Google underpants. Don't be lying to us all.
So, what's the referee doing when that happened then?
Well,
He treated it like it was an accident, like they just sort of
ridiculous.
fell over.
And honestly, the lights were on, but nobody was home when it you know, he was flat on his back. It looked like you after 15 whiskies.
Well, maybe 10 these days. Do you want to sidebar?
So Mark says he showed the art of a line in those last 2 rounds. I agree. Innie says showed great art. Mark says he was definitely out after the DDT, and he was. Innie says it was one of the craziest things I've seen. I've got to admit, it's one of the most outrageous things I've seen in the ring.
Did he get picked up in commentary? Did they see that?
Yeah, that was literally when I put my TV on. I thought, is it SummerSlam?
And what round was this?
4, 5.
Yeah, mid rounds.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
So he'll be feeling it in the morning. Let's put it that way.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, he had a right lump on his eye, didn't he, at the end? He took some punishment. Let's say that. I mean, if he's getting knocked out like that, and then he's still taking shots, that's not great, is it? That's not great, and that needs to be looked at. I mean, Caldwell obviously wouldn't have let him go out if he didn't think he was safe to. He knows his fighter. He knows what he's capable of. But it's testament to what Caldwell and him must do in the gym repetitively, drilling those combinations, drilling those techniques, defensive techniques.
Well, he said to Caldwell in the corner, he's not hurting me. He's not hurting me, but my legs have gone.
He was the communication between them in the corner. It wasn't just Caldwell barking at him; it was Caldwell asking questions and Gil giving him very clear responses.
Yeah,
and actually, when he was in the corner, when the round recommenced, and Gil stayed in the corner while his legs weren't there, his head movement was. There was plenty of it. Do you know what I mean? Like he was.
Yeah.
He seemed to have enough faculties. Well, he did have enough faculties about him to stay out.
That's probably the only thing that's. I watched those. I rewound it and watched those last 2 rounds. That's probably the only thing that stopped the referee from jumping in. Because in other circumstances that would have got stopped.
Yeah.
The fact that his defenses were good, and the fact that he was still throwing shots back was probably the only thing that stopped him jumping in.
Good evening, Lil Penny. Or good morning, wherever you are.
Hi guys, how are you? Are
I'm all
you guys
good.
talking about Josh Taylor?
We have done earlier on, mate. Let's go back and get your opinion then, because we've all had a rant about it.
Oh man, I saw that. I saw the replay of that fight. Man, Catterall, he's the real deal. I thought I thought that he wasn't. Like when I saw him at the gloves are off with Sky,
Yeah.
I was thinking, man, this guy is like, I don't think he'll last against Josh. But then when I saw in the weigh-in, Josh looked dry.
Yeah,
It reminded me when Canelo fought Mayweather, because I was at that fight. I was at that weigh-in too, and he looked dry. It's similar, very similar. And I thought, I didn't think of it though, because Josh, he's the best super lightweight in the world. I thought, man, he could easily beat this guy. But in that fight, man, that shoulder roll really, I don't think Josh trained for that.
No.
Like that shoulder roll, like I don't know, he couldn't. He should have done what Mayweather did to Adrian Broner, kind of like that, where he's just mauling him. But Catterall kept on holding, which prevented him from doing that. And I thought it was a great tactic. And the fact that he knocked him down too.
Also, as well, when Taylor was trying to make his way in, when he was trying to throw shots to get into range, he was getting picked off.
Yeah. Excellent strategy. I didn't expect that from Catterall at all. And he knocked him down, but the 2 point deductions, they offset each other, but he did knock them down. And I thought that was even more than enough. And the fact that he got the loss, oh my God, it's like...
I mean, I don't know what it's been. You're in New Zealand, aren't you?
Yes.
I don't know what the news coverage is like over there for boxing, or how they've seen that result. But in the UK, there's been outrage, mate.
Yeah. I've seen it on social media a little bit. It's like a robbery, and it was a. Yeah. That reminds me of the Pacquiao Bradley one fight where it was once. No, I wouldn't say one-sided, but you could clearly see that Pacquiao won. In this case, Catterall won. But man, good on him, man. But I'm also surprised in the post-fight interview that Josh said that there will be no rematch and he's moving up to 147.
What do you think? What do you think should happen, Little Penny? What do you think should happen regarding the fight?
Look, man, if you're struggling to make 140, which I don't think he said that. I think he said he made weight easy from memory, but he did say this will be his last fight at 140. I think he should go back at 140 and give this guy a rematch, but I'm afraid that it might. Catterall, he can punch, man. He's got some power. I didn't know that. I didn't realize how effective his power punches are. And in fact, he doubled his power punch output. If you look at the punch stat, he had like 168 or something, and Josh Taylor had 89 or whatever it was.
I mean, it's a great example of why we love boxing, isn't it? Because we all thought we knew what was going to happen in this fight. We all thought, and then all of a sudden Jack Catterall comes from nowhere and puts a performance on like that.
Yeah. It wasn't, to be perfect. To be perfectly honest, it wasn't the most exciting fight because there's a lot of holding.
Yeah.
But Josh, I think in the rematch, I like Josh. I think highly of him. He should be able to adjust. He should be able to. If he can beat Prograis, he should beat this guy.
But truly, we don't know. Obviously, Jack Catterall's a lot better than we thought he was.
Yeah. But I think it's because Josh probably didn't train for like a shoulder roll.
If you're down as pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, you've got to be able to have and get around them sorts of tactics, and he didn't have one.
Sky are showing the fight again. I've got the telly on over there, and they're showing a repeat of it. And literally in the first 30 seconds, Catterall nails him with the left hand.
Yeah, I can remember that.
And he couldn't miss with the backhand all night.
No.
And then something occurred to me like about 2 or 3 rounds in is that I'd be curious as to sort of like who Josh Taylor had as sparring partners, because southpaws facing southpaws, you don't get that very often.
No.
So he wouldn't have been, how often is a southpaw having to sort of like nullify your opponent's sort of back, left hand sort of thing. Like it's whether it comes as it's a slightly unusual angle for another when you face another southpaw. I don't know, but he never there was some for all the intricacies of what the experience that Catterall showed, because it said in commentary like he sparred with Mayweather and he sparred with Canelo, and you can see where he's picked that shoulder roll style up. But the most basic tactic he had on the night was the left hand down the pipe, and he never missed with it all night. And Taylor,
and also, Matt, I mean, I'm southpaw myself, and I know having fought with southpaws, you footwork as well. You're forever falling over another southpaw because you're looking to get your feet in the same place.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that their feet were clashing quite a lot last night as well. So did he train for that as well? Because it is very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
He couldn't miss with the 1-2, could he? Catterall, really?
no.
I just think that Josh Taylor took Catterall a little bit lightly.
Yeah.
Didn't expect him to have what he had in the early stages, and he wasn't able to do anything about it.
And I think he had one eye on Crawford, didn't he, obviously?
Yeah, but it's okay having one eye on Crawford, but you know when you're in the fight and someone wakes you up in the first 30 seconds with a left hand, surely that switches you on as a great fighter.
It depends what you got in the tank, doesn't it? If it's dry at the weight, you know, it might take a lot out of him.
And he was kind of injured too, because it was coming off injury. He kind of like he hinted on it a little bit. He didn't say it was an excuse, because he's not that sort of a guy that would make excuses. But he did say that he was coming off an injury. So I don't know. Does that affect him? I don't know.
He had plenty of time to recover from that, mate.
And to be fair, a lot of fighters say the majority of fighters go into these fights with some kind of injury, don't they? As a rule.
In my opinion, Lil Penny, Catterall he's got a reputation of being a good fighter in the UK. But the question was, can he hang at the elite level? Well, quite clearly he can.
Yeah. Yes.
So
he hurt him too. Like when he knocked him down, he was 1 or 2 punches away from being knocked out.
What was
the state of his face at the end? That didn't tell me someone's won.
That's right. What I was surprised about more than anything else was that they weren't able to shift their game plan during the fight. They weren't able to make the adjustments to get around what Catterall was doing. He was trying to do the same thing. I just think that he thought, I think that Taylor thought that if he carries on doing what he's doing, eventually he's going to get success, and it just didn't work.
And I was surprised of his power, man. He's got power for someone who's a little guy. He's got power.
Yeah.
When it happened at the time, and he after he dropped Taylor, and there was another round where he shook him as well, and you heard Nigel Travers in the corner and Jamie Moore I wondered if at that point they just sort of, I did think to myself, like, is he going to regret not stepping on him? Because actually, I honestly thought Taylor at one point was ready to be taken.
Yeah, I did as well.
The other thing that's just sort of like thinking about the style that Catterall's got and has employed, I sincerely hope that he does get given another shot at one of the vacant titles and everything like that. Because actually, on that performance, who the bloody hell is going to want to fight him?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there'll be outrage, won't they? So one of the governing bodies, because these titles will get broke up now.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in the world that Taylor's going to stay at that weight. So he's going to move up, which means the belts get split up. It was mandatory for the WBO. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
So that's what makes me think that he'll get a shot at the WBO title instantly, because there'll be outrage at the result. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough. He don't deserve a shot at the WBO title. He deserves a shot at the undisputed title. But he's not going to get that, is he? Unless Josh Taylor wakes up and realises that everybody in the world, apart from him and Ben Davison, everybody in the world knows he lost that fight.
But mate, is there enough money for the rematch? like if the money is there, maybe Taylor will change his mind.
No, Taylor won't change his mind, mate, because he knows he'll get the same result next time, I think.
And also, there's more money in the Crawford fight than there is in that fight, isn't there?
The thing is, if he really is struggling at weight, I don't want to make that an excuse because I don't want to take away from what Catterall did. But if he is struggling at weight, then he's not going to take another fight at that weight, is he?
No.
He stole one last night. He got away with one.
Yeah.
He knows that. Deep down, he knows that. No matter what he said in the ring, he knows that. And he's just going to and he's going to forget about it like it's never happened. And he's just going to carry on with his career for whatever.
I'll tell you what is interesting about Taylor. His eyes always swell, don't they?
Yeah, he gets cut really bad, Taylor. That's the only thing about him. Yeah, he just got cut bad.
He's got that very sort of like, what's the name, cheeks, very prominent cheeks. So when he's boiled down, like he's there for the taking. Like
Ricky Attenad.
Yeah.
Bone structure. Is that what you're looking for, Matt?
Yeah, that'll do. That's
Back to the top end of this card from tonight. I don't know if you've seen any of this card from tonight, Little Penny. The DAZN card.
Okolie with Okolie?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't see it because I'm actually working at the moment. But I thought I'd just jump in.
Okay.
But I will watch it later.
Oh, okay, all right.
Don't worry, we won't tell your boss.
I want your job.
But I thought, actually, that's a good point. But I think Okolie should stay at cruiserweight and dominate this weight class until because I think he really wants to go to heavyweight and fight the big boys. I think he should. I think he should take all these belts at cruiserweight. Fight Macabrous.
The only thing I'll say about tonight is how embarrassing was Brady's tonight.
Oh, absolute joke, wasn't it? I mean, did you see Tony Bellew's face when we had the Super Mario outfit on?
I actually rate him as a fighter. He's a damn good fighter, isn't he? His performance against Usyk was really, he ran Usyk close into.
He's embarrassing himself though, Carl, and he's going to carries on doing stupid stuff like that. And I mean, Lawrence Okolie didn't want to talk to him, did it? You could see it. He didn't know what to do with it because he sees it as a joke. He called him a clown, in fact.
Yeah. I've always been embarrassing.
That's the fight, Lawrence Okolie against Bradis. That's the fight. And they reckon it next. Bradis has got a fight in Australia.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory? I don't know. It is.
I think it is mandatory. Yeah. I mean, the trouble is with Okolie, he stinks the place out, doesn't he?
That fight tonight, and it's the same as every other fight. He smothers his own work. He falls over his shots. I mean, he's got a lot of power, Okolie. So I can understand why he wants to move up to heavyweight. And if he took his time a little bit, he'd be knocking people like this. Says like how?
The legend Shane in the corner, the legend told him, didn't it?
He did tell him
to work, keep it level. So if the legend says it, then he should be doing it, shouldn't he? Because the legend gets everything right. So I couldn't understand why he won't fight. I mean, look at the size of them arms and the reach. Why ever is he getting involved in close on the inside? Just stay at range and just pick him off.
That right hand he landed in the first round, and Matey's obviously knees just sort of went, and he was lucky they went into a clinch and it was up against the ropes, because if there'd been a bit of distance or he wasn't against the ropes, like he'd have been on the deck. But it was the best. It was the best and the worst thing that happened for Okolie in that fight, because straight away there was no variation. What frustrated me tonight was there was no variation with the right hand. It was that he never threw it straight. He hardly threw it from underneath. It was that sweeping sort of like looping motion across. He was trying to hit him with the same shot all night. Yeah. I think if he hadn't landed that shot in the first round, he could have had a lot more difficult night, because Matey was, I mean, he was what he was, but he was bloody stubborn. And he was up for and he was up for a scrap. Do you know what I mean? His behind the back of the head action reminded me of a prime Bruno. Like, it was just, but it just, I think he's just not relieved, but probably just happy to get that one out of the way tonight, because it was a potential banana skin, but probably more for the fact that it's made him. He's had 2-3 really good performances, and that one tonight looked more like the one. They referenced the Matty Askin fight on commentary and what have you, and it wasn't a pretty fight to watch tonight. It was what it was. He's still world champion. He can look forward to the Brady's fight. Move on.
Do you think he clears up the division?
I don't. No. I don't think you beat Raiders, to be honest.
You don't? Okay.
No.
I think you've got to give him a chance just because of his power.
Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I tweeted it earlier that you're not going to remember a Okolie fight, are you? I think, Shane McGuigan sort of prides himself on being able to distance himself from the Okolie smothering style. But for me, he went back to sort of what he knew tonight. And in terms of how he'll get on with the division, I think, is he a bigger puncher than Makabu? I mean, that's questionable. I don't know how he does it in that fight, really, because they're two bigger punchers, but I think Makabu could perhaps get to him, really.
Makabu's a tiny fella for cruiserweight as well. He's a right lucky little fella in it. That's going to cause Okolie loads of trouble because Makabu's just going to be sitting on his chest all night.
Yeah, do you remember the punch that Bellew knocked him out with, though?
Well,
it was that right hand round the corner.
I was just about to say. He's vulnerable, Makabu. He's handy, and you get that a lot with big punchers that can be quite suspect themselves because they're not used to getting it. I actually think if Okolie wants to, he can clear the division. I don't think Brudis is all that. Brudis is too busy getting tattoos of Jake Paul on his leg to be interested in fighting proper fighters anymore.
Good fighter, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. Is he really? That division's shocking. He wasn't such a great fighter when Usyk was in the division, was he?
Yeah, but he did. It wasn't a bad performance against Usyk.
Usyk's
in that final. It wasn't a bad performance. When you consider Usyk, everyone thinks is the next coming.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? In 2 fights time, whether he is or not.
So yeah, I think Okolie.
One fight we've missed out on this card, lads, and that's Galal Yafai.
Yeah.
Who was absolutely outstanding.
Took a few shots from me though, and he admitted it himself afterwards.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, he wasn't worried about what was coming back, was he?
No.
But as far as shot understanding the distance and knowing when to pick the shots and land them, it was virtually punch perfect. And
to come straight into a 10 round is impressive as well.
Yeah.
And also that the fact that he got McCracken in the corner is the absolute icing on the cake that McCracken's no longer Joshua's coach, because he doesn't coach two professional fighters at one time. He never has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think your fight just. I know he rushed his work a bit, so he needs to learn. Obviously, it's not the amateurs. You got 10 rounds to play with, because if it's a better opponent, obviously, he's got an engine on him though, hasn't he?
Oh, he wasn't even blow him, was it?
I mean, they'll move him up quickly. They'll move him up quickly, won't they?
And I was questioning that on Thursday.
Well, you like your fighters to have 30 fights before they jump in with a live opponent, so I'm not surprised.
He's come straight out to the amateurs.
Let's wait till he's 45 before he gets a live opponent.
I was questioning whether he was ready for the level, but quite clearly he is. Quite clearly he's learned enough in the amateurs, and he's at that age where he's just outstanding quality. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you look at the division. How many fights is he going to need before he can take a world title?
You reckon 3?
Wouldn't surprise me.
The thing is he's boxed at such a level in the amateurs that if he had potentially his first 10 opponents, all right, okay, first 10 opponents, he actually could have boxed better opponents in the amateurs, albeit over a shorter distance. But for me, that's the difference between him and the likes of a Campbell Hatton. Do you know what I mean? Whereas somebody who's boxed at the very highest level, at the amateur level, who doesn't need to have 10, 12, 15 fights before he gets a title shot, because that's a waste of time for him. And particularly at flyweight, particularly at that weight where the depth isn't there. Why can't he win a world title within?
Well, he's been sparring Sonny Edwards a lot, hasn't he?
It's not a very sexy division, though, is it? I know you got Chocolatito and people like that, but it's not a very sexy division. It'll come up in weight.
Is Sonny Edwards' weight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fly. So yeah, it's Sonny Edwards as world champion, isn't it? Chocolatito's moved up, hasn't he? He's not in that division anymore.
There's talks of him coming back down, though, if the fight's right, by all accounts.
Right. Okay.
So, but he'll move up through the weights, because there's no money down at that sort of weight, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, I can see him being multiple weight champion easily.
So, are you guys talking about 115?
Sorry?
Are you guys talking about 115?
It's flyweight.
Yeah, 115, right?
Yeah.
Carjas is there. In fact, he lost to Martinez last night.
Who is, sorry?
Martinez, the Cuban guy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the purses, though, little Penny. The purses aren't nowhere near what they are as you go up through the weights, are there?
Yeah. There's a lot of good fights at around that weight class. Even Donaire's at 118. Donaire said he's even willing to go down again to 115 to fight Chocolatito at 115. But you're saying Chocolatito will be at 118, right?
Yeah, in that was fighting up next weekend.
Yeah, yes, he is.
Especially in the UK. In the UK, headliners is nearly always a heavier weight. The lower the weights, the lower the purses in the UK, if I'm being brutally honest. So, like I said, I can imagine going up through the weights. He's got the frame for it. So,
unless you fight Donaire and Inoue at 118, those purses are quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the right platform to be earning the money anyway. I don't think he's got to worry about stuff like that.
It's whether it captures the public imagination, though, because we're not big favourites of them lightweights in the UK, are we? Let's be honest.
Yeah, but you've got the biggest publicising machine behind him.
He's
got the best promoter in the world, hasn't he?
I thought it was interesting.
Well, what we spoke about lately, who says DAZN's the best platform?
Well, not necessarily the best platform. He's still the best promoter.
But he hasn't got the best platform, has he?
So he'll be doing all sorts, mate. He'll be on commercials. He'll be selling, I don't know, his granny's cookies. He'll be doing whatever he wants to do because, let's have it right, he's an Olympic gold medalist.
And he's a Birmingham lad, so he'll sell out the arena in Birmingham and that lot, I'd imagine.
He can print the money, mate. He can print the money. He ain't got to worry about the fact that he's at that low weight.
Hey, Carl, Canelo Alvarez would say that DAZN is the best platform.
Yeah, but I'd suggest, little Penny, he's not nowhere. There's a reason why Canelo came up the weight classes, and he's nowhere near his purse bid, is it? But I take your point.
I thought it was interesting. Sonny Edwards tweeted this evening, Eddie Hearn and DAZN about, well, give me £1 million and I'll face him at some point. If if Eddie Hearn could get hold of Sonny Edwards, and you could put, the only way you're going to drive the money up for them two is you get them you get them unifying titles. Sonny Edwards is an excellent fighter.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the ones who you know, it's a massive disservice to him that he's not as well known as he you know. He's one for the purists. He really, do you know what I mean?
He talks well as well. He talks
mate,
well.
he's so good. Yeah.
Who's he promoted by currently? Is he?
Nobody. He was with Frank Warren, but is free agent at the minute, I believe, or has he gone to Probellum?
His last show was on Probellum,
but
I don't think is he signed with them then?
Yeah.
Hey guys, is it true about Probellum that they're going to announce soon, like this multi-million-dollar sponsorship deal with a big company? Is that true?
That's what Little Penny. That Probellum seem to do that. They seem to align themselves with bigger names, other promotions, and they do what they call in co-promote.
Yeah.
It seems to be their way of getting onto networks because they don't have their own network and they're not aligned with a TV company currently or a TV channel of sorts. That seems to be their tactic at the minute. I think Probellum could end up being a big player in a few years' time.
Well, the corporate team's absolutely spot on. They've got some big names from the world of boxing who are gonna drive that commercial platform forward. So, and
I think as they go along as well, they seem to be signing fighters at the minute that are big ticket sellers that are maybe have had a couple of losses and they're on the trail back. But I think in a couple of years' time, you'll see them they'll start signing. They'll start, outbidding the likes of DAZN for certain fighters and winning, bigger fighters' contracts when they might run out on other platforms because I think they're going to be big players.
They're basically linked with MTK, aren't they?
And don't forget they've just signed Lou DiBella.
Yeah, that's a detriment. So let's not talk about that.
No, I think Lou DiBella will do it. For all people love him or hate him, he knows the boxing game, don't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to be an HBO executive, right?
Yeah, you got Richard.
HBO.
Look what happened to HBO.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, since you guys are from the UK, because DAZN is kind of like, with Eddie Hearn. So Eddie Hearn is made a deal with Canelo for $160 million for 3 fights. So
two fights.
Yeah, it was 85 million for 2 fights. But then someone said that no, it's actually a 3-fight deal.
No, it's rumored to be a 3-fight deal. I've not seen it confirmed anyway, Little Penner.
They've only announced 2 fights.
Yeah, because there's another one in December, I hear. And
yeah, that's all rumor though. I've not seen it confirmed anyway. Whether you have, I don't know.
Who's that rumored to be against then, Little Penny?
I saw it on Saved by the Bell on their social media accounts. I don't know who said it, but man, if that was the case, Canelo will wipe everyone in 2022 in terms of earnings. Because at the moment, I think number 1 is maybe LeBron James, maybe at 120. And for him to make 160, man, that's incredible. This is the reason why I don't like people saying boxing is dead and blah blah blah. But boxing is not dead. In fact, it's probably the best it's ever been.
Well, only for the very top end, though, Lil Penner. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They want to bring him to London, don't they, to fight John Ryder in December?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it's rumored though, isn't it?
Yeah.
John,
that's one of the guys.
Did you say John Ryder?
Yeah.
Is he mandatory?
Yeah. He will be by December, they reckon, yeah.
Interesting.
And Canelo wants to fight in Britain too. Like, I remember him saying that. He really wants to fight in Britain. Although he'll fight in Mexico City first. And then he said he wants to fight in Wembley.
I thought it'd be more like the winner of Parker Andre.
It's also rumoured is John Ryder or Makabu. His name's in the frame for it as well, for the 3rd fight.
I think he's gone off that idea of going cruiserweight,
He'll batter John Ryder. He will absolutely batter John Ryder.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, that's just a gimme fight. Maybe he just wants a gimme fight. Maybe he just wants to and come over to the UK and
I don't mind him coming to the UK.
sample the atmosphere, because John Ryder don't last 4 rounds.
And Andy, what about a Beterbiev fight in December? Canelo versus Beterbiev at 175. At
Yeah,
Okolie.
well, he's taking on Bivol, isn't he? The Bivol fight's going to tell you a lot, because in my opinion,
Don't write Bivol off.
Bivol's a much more lively opponent at 175 than Beterbiev at the minute.
Or is it too much for him for that year? Maybe Ryder is probably a better option because
I think Beterbiev. I think his best days are behind him.
See, people keep bleating on about Beterbiev. He's a one-trick fighter for me. He can't adjust in the ring, but Bivol is a dangerous fighter because Bivol can change his style.
Yeah.
They've got it all on with Bivol. You heard it here first, because people keep saying, but against Richards, he was poor. No, he never got out of neutral in that fight. Honestly, I think Canelo's got a ceiling in terms of his performance at 175, and I think he might have picked the wrong opponent here. Because Bivol, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's slick. Is Canelo going to be able to pin him? I don't know. But Bivol can bang as well.
Bivol's got that punch. It came up on Twitter the other day. That punch he took that Australian fella out with in Monaco is possibly the best bomb punch knockout I've ever seen, because it was so relaxed. It came from absolutely nowhere, and that sort of reaction, that sort of power was frightening. And he's relaxed. I like about him is he's relaxed in punching range. Like, you don't see it coming. It's just bang, it's out. And yeah, I'd love to see what happens if he connects one clean with Canelo and see what the reaction is there. Like, it's I still side with Canelo, because anytime I've ever thought that he's going to be in for a test or something like that, he always finds a way.
175 though, Matt. 175.
That's the only. I think this is a more live test than Callum Smith, than Billy Joe, than Golovkin.
I can't think of a time where Canelo was troubled.
Abner Carter, he was really troubled then.
Where again?
Abner Carter at 147. It was early, but he had.
I was going to say recently.
Oh, recently? Triple G.
His
first fight.
Well, he felt Triple G shots, but I don't think he was hurt. I don't think he was troubled. Not really. He wasn't in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, trouble. Okay, yeah.
He felt the shots, and he changed his game plan to suit.
But Andy, I think Beterbiev hits way, way harder than Triple G, though.
Yeah, probably. But I don't think Beterbiev is the same fighter, mate. He's got one punch knockout power. That's what Beterbiev has. But if you look at that last fight, he was poor, mate. Really poor.
But Andy, at 175, you carry extra weight, and as if you saw in that Kovalev fight, Canelo was struggling a little bit there.
Yeah, and Kovalev was spent.
Yeah,
and
Beterbiev points about carrying the extra weight.
Yeah. If Canelo doesn't put in a rehydration clause against Beterbiev or a catch weight, I think Beterbiev, if he hits him, it's gonna hurt him.
Of course it is, yeah.
So, whereas Bivol, I don't know. I don't like Bivol's power at 175. I feel like Canelo can probably take that. Whereas Beterbiev, I don't think he can take Beterbiev's power. Now, he has to land it, obviously. Whereas Beterbiev, he can take his power. He can take Canelo's power. Not all of it, obviously. Like in the 10th round, some of those punches from Canelo is going to hurt. But it's not going to hurt him in the first, second, or third rounds.
I think people are sleeping on Bivol a little bit. I think they're sleeping on him because I think I've said this many times on the show. I think he's better. His level drops to where it's just enough to beat the opponent. So when he jumps in with Richards, he just did enough to win. So when he jumps in with Canelo, I think you'll see a career best. It's gonna need to be a career best performance, isn't it? So, but I think he'll beat Canelo.
Just in the sidebar, slightly off subject, Carl. Mark Brody's put. I could be making 2 and 2 equals 5 here, but I don't think DAZN are doing as well as we are led to believe. Losing first bids, new investors pumping money in, making a move to pay-per-view. He hasn't got the US audience he needs.
Yeah, I don't think that's any secret though, is it? Because they posted
the point, isn't it?
Well, they posted the accounts, didn't they? So it's no secret. Yeah, that they lost X amount of millions of dollars or whatever it was. So I think there's only got a long way to go. And obviously with them losing 2 purse bids recently, what does that tell you?
Do you think that the DAZN investors thought they were going to blow everyone else out of the water and it would just end up being them as a single big entity?
Well, it's not investors, it's investor, isn't it? It's one person who's the billionaire that backs it. But I've got a feeling that they obviously brought Eddie Hearn on board. And
Carl, that purse bid that they lost to ESPN with Frank Warren, that was it was really big. I didn't expect them to bid that much. I think DAZN's bid was pretty good too. It was quite high.
It was big, but if everything was rosy in the garden, little Penny, they would have absolutely made sure they win the bid, wouldn't they? By blowing the other party out the pond, if you will.
DAZN's bid was the single highest purse bid ever before that Frank Warren card was opened. So they clearly thought that was going to be enough because it was the highest ever.
Yes.
But it intrigues me because Dillian White. Sorry, go on, Sean.
How many subscribers do you reckon they've got in the UK? I mean, they don't really announce these things, but do you think they've got more than 500,000 subscribers UK?
I think there's quite a lot of fluctuation there.
No, I don't think they have. When it was $1.99 maybe, but then they put the price up to $7.99, which still is very reasonable for what they have on the channel. But then when they start announcing ideas of making pay-per-view on top of that, I think they've turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, the pay-per-view of $80, right, for Canelo Bivol, I think that's too much for DAZN because DAZN wasn't even structured for that. It was a subscription type. No. So they should have made it maybe $30 or something.
They're saying it's $50 for subscribers.
That's what they were based on.
They're saying it was $50. It's $50 for subscribers, so it's $80 if you don't subscribe, and then it's $50 if you're a subscriber. In the UK, because I know you guys have spoken about it on here before, but I hate to say it, but at the moment, DAZN they're a glorified Box Nation at the moment because they were obviously banking on that BT Sport deal. Because at the moment, it's boxing fans like us that are paying for it. I agree, $7.99 is a decent price, but then if you're able to put Champions League coverage on DAZN, if you're able to put some Premier League on DAZN, then all of a sudden that becomes $14.99, $19.99, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, some people are making comparisons to Satan Sport. Is it going to end up like that, where it goes belly up?
Well, I mean, they blew all their money on Premier League, though, didn't they? They put all that money into Premier League football that they couldn't afford and expected to get loads of subscribers just for having 38 games a season of Premier League football.
But this billionaire ain't going to keep bailing it out forever, is there?
No, you can't. You can't just keep throwing money down a bottomless pit.
I think they were, like you've just said, you touched on it there, Mark. They were banking on getting BT. They were banking on getting the platform where they could start pushing the profile of the fighters, pushing the advertisement for the platform on the likes of the Premier League shows and the Champions League shows. Now they've not got that. What do they do? Because this is why Sky fighters and people are moving to Sky from DAZN, because it's a much more popular show. Obviously, you've got, as Cole's mentioned on numerous occasions, casual football fans that relate to boxing because they'll watch the football and then they'll stay up and watch the boxing after. You know, the boxing shows get advertised, big fights get advertised on adverts during the football, so everybody knows. All the casuals know that there's a massive fight coming on.
Yeah.
Where did DAZN publish that? Where do they get that advertisement out there? If you're not already subscribed to their channel, where do you hear about their fights?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they've got a marketing machine like me behind them, is it, Andy?
No, that's right.
But
So sorry, little
But
Benny.
Andy-
In the
but Andy-
sidebar, 1 minute, fella.
Yep.
So Mark says, but Frank could do it because of the US TV network, which DAZN don't have. So I'm assuming he's talking about the purse bid there. So obviously Bob have him. So sorry, little Benny, go on, make your point.
Carl, but the fact that DAZN, made that bid, and they're offering Canelo all of this money, I think they still have some money left. Like, and I think the pursuit of getting English Premier League and stuff like that, I think that was more derailed by the coronavirus. But now that's behind us, they're probably still pursuing that. And I got a feeling that Carl, I got a feeling that DAZN is just using boxing to get subscription, kind of like what HBO did in the late 80s, early 80s, late 70s, where they had nothing, right? They had nothing. All they had was boxing, right?
The challenge they've got in the UK, little Pen, I'll be brutally honest, is they did a big marketing campaign saying pay-per-view is dead.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they launched this pay-per-view model. So British boxing fans and British consumers now going, well, we don't really know where we stand now.
But Carl, they could have gotten away with it if they made the pay-per-view instead of $80 for new subscribers, or what Matt was saying, $60 for existing subscribers. If they made it to around $20, $30, it could have been, okay, all right, we'll pay that.
But that was their big USP, though. The fact that we're having to pay pay-per-view to watch, Anthony Joshua on Sky Sports. But obviously on pay-per-view, you just paid subscription. You got to watch people like Canelo. But that's all changed now, hasn't it?
Yeah, Eddie made a massive statement when he took all of his fighters from Sky. He made a huge statement saying, you're no longer going to have to pay pay-per-view to watch Dillian White. You're no longer going to have to pay pay-per-view to watch such and such, because you're going to get it all for £1.99.
In fairness, they never said it was going to be $1.99 forever. It was always going to be.
To be fair,
They did call that an introductory price, didn't they? To be fair,
$7.99 is still a very good price for what they're producing.
Yeah.
Going back to what Little Penny's just said about the money that's going to Canelo Alvarez, you watch the undercards on some of these DAZN shows will be absolutely shocking going forward, because they won't have the money on the undercards because they've paid it all to Canelo.
Yeah, kind of like the old HBO. Remember, post 2008, all of these before that, HBO had great undercards, and then all of a sudden the undercards, we were mainly watching the main event, and the undercards were crap. Like especially the Mayweather fights, the Pacquiao fights, the undercards were crap.
The trouble is, the trouble is, the American audience are not used to sitting down and watching an entire card, because a lot of their TV broadcasting only show the main event. So why is a promoter going to invest heavily in the undercard? And
I hope they don't, Carl. I hope they don't ruin that, because when I see a British card, the fans are there in the first fight. Like
we're the best fans in the world, Little Penny. That's why we're the best fans in the world.
Mexico as well. Mexico.
No. UK. Mexico a close second. I'll admit that.
Little Penny, the reason.
Hey, Carl,
go on.
Sorry, Andy.
No, go on, little Benny. All right, go on.
Carl, if Canelo fights at Mexico City, they'll have 130,000 there, right? Which Wembley can't compete.
Yeah,
with.
but they still won't make the noise that we make in Britain. That's
Yeah,
why
they
Terence.
can sing too, man. They can sing
No,
too.
that's
Man.
why was Terence Crawford so keen to come back to our shores? Because we're proper boxing fans. How many fighters come over to the UK from the US and they can't believe the atmosphere?
Yeah.
It's a very unique atmosphere.
You know, guys, April, right? I love April. It's going to be a huge boxing month. There's so many great fights. The Dylan White Fury, the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, which I'm really looking forward to. I love that fight. There's a lot of fights in April.
Yeah, tickets come out on sale on Wednesday, so we're hoping to go to Tyson Fury, aren't we, Andy? Hoping to.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed.
The biggest.
I don't think it was set out.
Say again, Sean.
I don't think it was set out Wembley.
I
Really?
do.
Fury against White.
I do.
Well,
I
why
think-
not?
I think from my point of view, I think Aram and Warren, they completely underestimate Fury. I don't think he's a big draw compared to AJ, for example. I think they're on another planet, tickets and commercial, them two. That's just the way I
I'll
see
have
it.
a
Really.
bite. I'll have a bite on it. So it sells out, Sean.
Yeah,
It might not sell out as quick as an AJ fight, but I would be gobsmacked if it didn't sell it out.
Well, he's not fought in the UK for how long? And look at his profile. His profile's absolutely gigantic. He'll sell out.
This
He'll
is
sell out.
the biggest heavyweight fight since Bruno Lewis, isn't it?
Yeah.
but is Fury the draw of AJ? Really?
Well, let me put this to you then, Sean. Carl Froch versus Groves. That sold out.
I think that was different though because of how their first fight went. Really, wasn't it? I mean, that was sold
In
out.
terms of profile, though, you could argue Tyson Fury's got a bigger profile than both of them, especially George Groves, because who's he?
Yeah. But I just think that Fury, yes, he's big in America, but I don't really think he's got the fan base many people think he has over here.
But
Even
look
though
at
he's
the
from here.
I mean, I ain't got the numbers to hand, but the pay-per-view buys that he did in the over in the UK when people are getting up in the middle of the night, so they're surely going to top off down to Wembley and watch him.
Maybe, but yeah, I think he's got a sort of troll fan base, if you like, where people just seem to support him on because of the
I think
statements he
I
makes.
think with his backstory as well, Sean, around mental health and how many people have got on board with him because of his story around that. I think you underestimate the popularity of Tyson Fury in this country.
He's your classic sort of villain to hero in this country. The British press will either they love to build somebody up to knock them down, or they love them to be on the ground so they can drag them up. And
Well, he's worked wonders on his own profile.
Yeah.
You go back only, I don't know, a year or two before he won the first world titles against Klitschko, and he was hated in the UK because of his opinions, because of the things he believed in. That he said out loud, which other people wouldn't do. He said out loud, and he's learned from that, hasn't he? He's come back from his dark days and realised that if he wants to make the millions in the sport that he probably deserves to make, he needs the fans on side.
And we love an underdog, don't we? And that's what he was against in his early. We love an underdog.
He was, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, Carl Froch really polarised his opinion, don't he, Sean, in the UK? Yeah, he was able to sell out. And George Groves, he didn't, nobody really knew who he was before the Manchester fight, to be honest. And they managed to sell it out. So I'd be surprised.
I think the other reason is the undercard, really, because what we're going to get a couple of Southern area titles, and if we're really lucky, we may get the Great European WBO title on it. I think Hearn's got a better chance of selling it if he was promoter, but I think card depth wise is really where I'm going with this. I suppose.
I think this is one of the fights where the card depth is irrelevant. I think this is people are buying this for the main event and the main event only.
And Tyson Fury he can sell it himself. It's great. Give him a mic. Can you imagine the press conference?
And Dylan White can talk too.
Cool.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So, you know, by the time maybe not as quick as the AJ fight, but by the time them two have had the press conference on Wednesday and whipped the crowd up, them teams will be flying out.
I don't think Dylan White has a chance, though. I think Fury will dominate this fight. But from an event point of view, I think it will do pretty good.
Yeah, agree.
But it's not like a Joshua Klitschko. I think the gentleman there is right. It's not like AJ Klitschko. It doesn't have that vibe. You know what I mean? Even though it's
I think it'll get bigger as we move on through the months.
Yeah.
It probably needs Dillian White to engage in the press conferences, and I'm not convinced he's going to.
No,
Yeah,
I
I've heard
agree.
about that. Like, is that because he's not getting any upside on the pay-per-view buys?
Well, to be honest with you, that shouldn't matter, mate, because he's getting 8 million flat. He's getting 8 million, and he's never got anywhere near that. He's not even got anywhere near 5 million, and he's getting 8 million for this fight, flat rate. So that shouldn't come into it. I don't know whether he's playing a game, whether he's trying to keep him on the toes, wondering what he's going to do or what. I'm not really sure of his tactic.
He's doing an Amir Khan. He's doing an Amir Khan, playing games.
Yeah, maybe. There's no two ways about it, though. He knows.
And he'll be doing a little dance like Amir Khan did as well, but when Tyson Fury gets older.
Yeah, but Carl, Amir Khan is shot, though. I mean, in his prime, it would have been a lot closer.
I'm talking about when Prescott got hold of him.
He was young back then, though, Carl. It was like...
Well, make your mind up. He's no good at the end of his career. He was no good at the beginning, so make your mind up.
Carl, he beat a lot of great fighters, though. Maidana, Zab Judah, Kotelnik. Those are pretty good names, man. Barrera.
I'm joking with you. He did have a good career, but I feel like he turned his back on the UK a little bit. That's the only issue I've got with him. You know, we didn't see much of him in the UK fight-wise.
He should have fought Brook when Brook had a belt. Maybe 2014, maybe?
He didn't want it, did
he? Carl, even after the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight, because that fight, everyone... Because that was welterweight, you know, that one kind of like ruined boxing. And if then Khan and Brook stepped up and it was a great fight, it would have been like the Pacquiao-Mayweather that we thought it would be, because it would be exciting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Pacquiao-Mayweather fight was so boring.
Yeah, again, two fighters at the tail end of the career, wasn't it? To be honest,
I actually give Brook just a little edge against Khan if they fought each other. Say 2014, I would have given Brook the edge because of his size. But if they fought before Brook had that belt, say they fought at 2012 when Khan was in his prime, I think Khan would have beaten him.
We'll never know, will we? We'll never know. So one of them. So coming up to the 2-hour mark, guys. So I think we better call it a wrap, Andy, haven't we?
Absolutely, mate.
I'll let you take us out.
Wonderful again, guys. Lots of great comments in the sidebar. We got very heated tonight for good cause. Great to have you guys on. Thanks again, Little Penny. Thanks again, Sean. Thanks again, Matt. Always great to have you on, lads. You're welcome every single week, as anybody in the sidebar is. Your opinions are all valid. Even if Cole don't agree with half of them, they still can't, in my opinion.
You're just not right, because if you don't agree with me, you're not right. Obviously.
There you go. That says it all. So anyway, even though Carl always thinks he's right, he never normally is.
No, I am. But come on, Andy, wrap this up for God's sake. We're here till 3 o'clock in the morning this week.
Thursday at 7 o'clock, which our live shows every week, 7 o'clock. You'll find Cole's wrong every week, and we'll call it a day at that.
I think you'll find my predictions slightly better than your Mr. Garlett many a time. So on that note, Little Penny, thank you very much. Sean, Matt, cheers. And whatever. Thursday, 7 p.m. Obviously, we're creeping our way around to the Lee Wood fight, which a few of us have got particularly a big interest in. Leewood Fight Week, we're going to do shows every night of the week to build up to the fight. So with no further ado, good evening everyone. I'll see you on Thursday.
Good night, chaps.
Cheers,
See you
guys.
later.